When John Kennedy was inaugurated in January 1961, he challenged Americans by saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." And many Americans, young, old, and middle-aged, took up Kennedy's challenge. One of the ways they did that was volunteering for the Peace Corps. My name is Jim Deutsch, and on the occasion of its 50th anniversary, I'm the curator for the Peace Corps program at the 2011 Smithsonian Folklife Festival. When the Peace Corps was established in 1961, it was given three interrelated goals. Those goals are to provide Americans overseas, to help countries that are interested. Second goal is to help people in those countries better understand about Americans and the United States. And the third goal is to bring it home, to help Americans better understand about the peoples and the cultures where Peace Corps volunteers are serving. It really is this third goal of the Peace Corps that is driving our Folklife Festival. And we're planning to bring Peace Corps volunteers and the people with whom they work from 17 different countries. Every Peace Corps volunteer around the world serves at least 27 months, and part of that time includes extensive training in language and culture of the country to which they have been assigned. So at the Peace Corps program on the National Mall, Peace Corps volunteers will be there to share what they learned from living in another community for 2 years. But the focus of our program will be on the people with whom the Peace Corps volunteers served, people from these 17 different countries who worked with Peace Corps volunteers and in many cases are still working with Peace Corps volunteers, maintaining the legacy. When our visitors come to the Smithsonian Folklife Festival, they can attend some of our foodways demonstrations. They can watch performances of groups with whom Peace Corps volunteers are working in Belize and Guatemala and Ukraine and Philippines. They can also watch a wide variety of craft demonstrations. But most of all, we really want to encourage these types of cultural conversations in which our visitors can learn directly from people from these different countries and from the Peace Corps volunteers. For instance, from Jamaica, we're bringing a Peace Corps volunteer who is helping to promote organic farming in the mountains of Jamaica. From the Republic of Georgia, we're bringing a Peace Corps volunteer who is working with counterparts in the winemaking industry. You may know that the Republic of Georgia is considered to be the birthplace of winemaking. From the country of Botswana, we're bringing a Peace Corps volunteer who is working with dancers from the San community. I think one of the more interesting stories concerns a Peace Corps volunteer from Guatemala. When she was assigned to a small village north of Guatemala City, she realized there were two basic problems. One was that there was trash littering the streets, and secondly, there were not enough school classrooms. So through research, she found a way to build school classrooms out of discarded plastic bottles, and we're going to recreate this at the Folklife Festival. We're also hoping to connect Peace Corps volunteers who have served in different decades, because the Peace Corps experience in the 1960s is quite different from the Peace Corps volunteer experience in the 21st century. One of the more fascinating things I've learned is that the 200,000 Peace Corps volunteers who have served since 1961 are now working in many, many realms around the world. There are members of Congress who are returned Peace Corps volunteers. There are television newscasters. There are famous authors. And there are people who are working in the State Department, working in the Smithsonian Institution. They tend to be very altruistic and idealistic, and they have a strong can-do attitude. That is, they are there, as John Kennedy asked them to do, to make a difference in other people's lives. We would like visitors to be able to return home with a better understanding not only of what the Peace Corps has been doing for the past 50 years, but also what people in the countries where Peace Corps volunteers are serving, to understand more about their culture and their traditions.